Start. Om Sahna Vavatu Sahno Bhunaktu Sah Viryam Karvavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. ओम गणानां त्वा गणपतिगं हवामहे कविं कवीनामुपमश्रवस्तमं ज्येष्ठराजं ब्रह्मणां ब्रह्मणस्पत आनशृण्वन्नोतिभिः सीदसादनम् ओम श्री महागणपतये नमः। सरस्वती नमस्तुभ्यं वरदे कामरूपिणि विद्यारंभं करिष्यामि सिद्धिर्भवतु मे सदा। गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुरेव परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। Manisha, can you share the Zoom link on Clubhouse? Those who want to join from there, they are asking. Okay. So we are on to the Nyaya Sutras. We were looking at basically the category of uh, logical fallacies that we call Hetvabhas. So basically there are different categories, not just one section of logical fallacies. So one of them is Hetvabhas, then coming up we have Chalam, then we have also Jati, and then also Nigrahasthan. Of course, the most voluminous of them is the one on uh, Nigrahasthan, which are 24 in number, and Jati, which are 22 in number. So these will be taking up towards the end of the text because we are into the first chapter, second part. So in a way, there are 10 chapters here. So when we reach the fifth chapter, it also has two parts. So 5 chapters, 2 parts each. That makes 10 chapters. Right now, we are approaching the end of the first chapter, second part, or you can say serially, it's the second chapter. So in this, we have the logical fallacies. Out of the 16 categories that are the topic of the Nyaya Sutras, the 16 categories. So we have seen earlier in the first sutra. So out of that, we have reached so far till uh, this Hetvabhas. So Praman, Pramay, Sanshayan, Sanshaya, Prayojan, Drishtant, Siddhant, Avyav, Tark, Nirnay, Vad, Jalp, Vitanda, Hetvabhas. So these 13 we have covered so far. 14th is 13th is Hetvabhas, then 14th is Chal, and then we have Jati and Nigrasthan. So these next two, Jati and Nigrasthan, their subcategories will come into the fifth chapter. But right now we have covered all the details of the six categories so far in detail. So first we saw Hetvabhas. So Hetvabhas we have seen so far that this has 4 different categories. So you have the Prakaranasam, Sadhyasam, Kalatit, and Savyavichar. And also if you take another one, Viruddha. So 5 in total. So out of these 5, we have discussed 4. So basically, if you see Hetvabhas, what is the Hetvabhas? If you split up the word Hetu Abhasaha, Hetu is a cause. So anything that we do in Nyaya, any logic that we have to arrive at, if we have to understand the nature of anything, then we have to understand that there has to be a cause behind everything that appears in the universe. Anything that we see, anything that we observe, there has to be a cause behind that, right? So there is a cause and an effect. So this cause effect relationship we seek to establish through our observation. So how do we observe things? We have seen through the sense organs, the pramanas, and then the pramanas are also visualized as the way in which we perceive. That is, we have seen that we have the 4 pramanas mentioned here. So we have pratyaksha, and we have, these are the 4 the nature of an object. But because in knowing an object, there might be certain distractions, or there might be someone who will try to obfuscate or hide the truth from us by using clever tricks. So darshan, what is darshan basically? Darshan is the ability to see. Darshan is seeing, the ability to see the truth. So we have six darshan shastras. They try to cognize or understand or express the ultimate reality in different ways. So out of these, one of them is Nyaya. So with Nyaya, it is the most potent weapon available for us to analyze the reality. And it is not that all these systems are, as we see, mutually exclusive. They borrow from each other. So from Nyaya, we are able to understand the logic behind anything. In Vaisheshik, we understand we do an examination of the subatomic particles of the we in Vaisheshik we try to understand, you can say, subatomic physics. Then again we have uh, after Nyaya and Vaisheshika you have Yoga and Sankhya. So Yoga understanding the mental states, Sankhya the universe at the macro level, and then we have Urmimansa, or studying the nature of action, karma, and then again Uttar Mimansa or Vedanta, where we understand the nature of the Atma, the soul, the reality beyond expression, the soul reality which is hidden from our view. So all of them are not just correct or wrong; they are expressing different parts of this reality. Vedanta, you can say, is expressing more of the unmanifest. The rest are focusing on the manifest. So out of this, we have seen the five kinds of Hetavas. Four we have seen earlier. The one that was left out in the last class was Kalatit. So I'll bring it up onto the screen. Manisha has shared the link on Clubhouse. Anyone wants to join on Zoom, they can do from there. So that Zoom ID is there. So now, if we are looking at Kalatit, we'll just share that onto the screen. Kal Kalatyaya Apadishtah Kalatitah. So Kal Atit Apadishtah Kalatit. What is that Hetu Abhas? What is that cause that appears like a cause, but it is not actually so? Something that is, hiding something from us. So Kalatit is the mistimed, or uh, the cause which has passed the time of expression, right? So Kalatit Hetva is when you are trying to examine something, you are trying to understand the nature of something, then that Kalatit Hetva appears, where while you are trying to understand the nature, the cause that is given, it is describing something of which the time has gone by. Right? So we'll try to understand with an example. But first we'll just look at the word Kal, Atit, Apadishta. So something that is not understood at the correct time. Apadishta, it is not understood. Kalatit, when it is understood when the time for that is past. So there are so many modern examples. We just take the example from the text, or the ones that is given in the earlier ones. So there it is shown that if we are saying that how do we understand that sound is produced, or is it always present? Is sound something that is eternal, or is it not? So for that we try to say, we just like we say the color of a jar is manifested when the jar it comes into union with the lamp, but the color existed before the union took place. So what we are saying basically is that if there is a jar, it has a certain color, blue, red, whatever, and then when light falls on it, we understand that this is the color of the jar. But the thing to be remembered here is, this is not a hetuabhas, this is a clear example of something perceived, direct perception. In direct perception, what we are doing is we are able to see the color. Then what does that mean? That means the color existed before also. पहले भी था और बाद में भी रहेगा. It will be there before the light is focused on that jar, and it will be there after the light is also removed, right? But if we say that, if we compare that with sound, so we say sound is produced, and then when it is produced, then by the union of the mouth, by the parts of the mouth, the tongue and the upper palate, when that strikes, then that sound is then that sound is observed. But you will understand here clearly that the sound, it comes into observation immediately after the uh, two parts of the mouth, that is your tongue and your upper palate, or even the inner, the through the vibration of the sound voice box in your throat. So when that is done, so through a vibration it is produced. So there is a time gap, kal kal atit, there is a time gap between the observation of the sound and from when it is produced, right? So that time gap means that this hetu, this cause is not correct, uh, because this cause was observed at a certain time, which means that before that the sound was not there, and later also at some point in time when the sound will die down, it will also not be there. So you cannot say that sound is eternal using this kind of cause, using this hetu abhas. So it becomes a clear case of a hetu or a cause that is not uh, giving you a proper reason to understand that sound is eternal. There are other arguments to prove sound is eternal. There are other arguments to prove sound is also not eternal. So it is a big debate. So in all of these, when we go for the understanding of nature of any object, we have to remember something or some logical fallacy is trying to hide the true nature. So out of, we should always be aware. So this is one kind of logical fallacy, kalatit hetavas. So in this kalatit hetavas, the time for which is past, right? So if I can say like I went to the jungle and I saw a wisp of I saw a tiger. Hmm. So someone will say that what time did you go to the jungle? So you specify a certain time. Then it is under. Then someone knows that the tiger, it was released from a cage and it was not in the jungle at that time. So from that, even though the tiger is present at certain point of time, it was never there in the jungle at that time. So that again will be a example of a kalati hetavabhas. He will know that you are not correct. So in this way, this hetavabhas is used to hide the truth. Next, we go into the next category, which is chalam. So this chalam also has, and this three parts, three kinds of three kinds of logical fallacies, three parts. So we'll just have a look at chalam. So Chavalam is basically a quibble where you are using word play to fool someone into forgetting their argument, into falsifying their argument. So, what is the definition of Chalam? If you look here, uh, वचन विघातो अर्थ विकल्पो उपपत्तया छलम. So vachan vighato artha vikalpo upapatya chalam. So what is chalam basically? What is a quibble or a uh, uh, way of fooling someone? That is vachan vighato. The vachan, the words that someone has said, you have to falsify them. Vighato. You have to cut them. You have to logically or in a way of trickery try to fool that person into accepting something that he has not even said. Huh. arth vikalpa upattaya. You give a arth vikalpa. You give a meaning that is different from what the person has said. So in chalam, basically, someone is saying something, you ascribe a different meaning to what that person is saying. So this we'll look at the three types, and then we'll be able to describe them. So tatra, we are into the first book, second chapter, 1 to 11. So 1 to 11, what does it say? What are the three different kinds of vakchalam? What is this trickery of the uh, words? What is this word play? So this, what is it? There it is of three kinds. Tatra trividham vakachalam, samanya chalam, upachar chalam, cha iti. So this chalam is of three kinds. This chalam is three kinds. Vak chalam, where you are basically quibbling over what is the term. A term is mentioned there, and that term you can ascribe different meanings. We'll look at the term in the next one. Vakchalam. Then Samanya Chalam. Samanya Chalam, we are quarreling over someone when someone is talking about a genus, a group of things, or something that is ascribed to a certain category of objects. And then what is the third kind of quibble, or the third kind of chalam? That is Upachar Chalam. That is in the case of a metaphor. So someone is trying to speak metaphorically, and you are giving a literal example for that. So in this kind of chalam also, you are able to just somehow fool the person into uh, thinking that whatever he has said, that is wrong. Okay. So let us look at the first of the kind, the Vak-chalam. So that is in the next sutra. So this one, these sutras, we don't need to go into much detail because they are simple enough. So, what is the definition of Vak Chalam? What is this Chalam or this quibble respected to Vak or Vani or words? What is this wordplay? अविशेष अभिहित अर्थे वक्तुः अभिप्रायात अर्थांतर कल्पना वाक्चलम. So vakshalam is what? Avishesh. Some simple term, something simple, some simple word. There is no metaphor involved. There is no kind of uh, word play where something is said in one language and it means something different in another language. That kinds of things also happen while we are talking, right? So avishesh abhihit arthe, the meaning of some simple term, very simple term. uh, Vaktuhu abhiprayat, vaktuhu, the one who is speaking, the speaker. Abhiprayat, whatever the meaning of that term is, the person is saying. Arthantar kalpana, you make a reverse or a different interpretation. So arthantar kalpana, that is called vakchalam. So if we say in simple words, what is vakchalam? That someone has said something simple, a very simple word or a simple sentence, and then whatever that person meant, vaktuhu abhipraya, whatever was the abhipraya, whatever was the meaning of the vaktuhu, the speaker. So whatever was the meaning of this speaker, that meaning you make a you ascribe a different meaning. Arthantar kalpana. That artha, that meaning, you provide a different kind of meaning, right? So that arthantar kalpana is vakchalam. So like you can say in lot of words in English, Hindi, there are words that have different meanings. So if you look at the example that is given in the text, then there is one that where is said that this someone says, I have brought a nava sari. Nava sari. So woman says, I brought a new sari. That is what she meant to say, and she's showing it off. So the other person says, nava also means nine. Nava also means nine. So you say, but I see only one sari. Where are the remaining eight? You say you brought Nava sari. So in this way, he can confuse you. So sometimes the method of this chalam is to just deviate from the topic so that you forget what you are arguing. Sometimes it appears silly, this kind of thing, that someone is saying you're talking about Nava. We do this all the time in our normal talk also, to just to create a light moment, a humorous moment. So I keep doing that. Monica is saying, my wife is saying, right? So I keep doing this thing, she'll say something and I'll draw some other meaning out of that same term. So we keep doing that to have fun. Hmm. So that is Vakchalam. We do a lot of Vakchalam. Hmm. So in this Vakchalam, we are basically using the meaning of a simple word and ascribing a different meaning to that word. Huh? Keep this in mind, because when we'll go to the one with the metaphor, where we are talking about the metaphor of the Upachar Chalam, then it is something similar, but there is a slight difference. So then we go on to the next one. So we have seen Vakchalam, Kubal in respect of a term. We are talking about a single term. So here what was the term? Nava. So Nava has two meanings. Any term that has ambiguous meaning, double meaning. So we can use the meaning that is different from what the person was saying. Abhiprayat arthantar kalpana vaktuhu. So whatever the vaktuhu was saying, whatever the person was saying. So if someone was saying, I have a new sari, that vaktuhu, that person, then you may ascribe a different meaning, a reverse meaning, right? So we go into that Vahchalam there. So what is the next one? Samanya Chalam. So what is the description of Samanya Chalam? So in Samanya Chalam, what do we have? So what is the definition? 1 to 13 is the sutra number. So Sambhavato Arthasya Ati Samanya Yoga Sambhut Artha Kalpana Samanya Chalam. So it is the Sambhavato Artha. Whatever is the possible meaning. Ati Samanya Yoga. So we take something that uh, some kind of characteristic guna that belongs to a huge variety of things. Huh. And then you ascribe that meaning to a different person of that category, right? So if you are talking about you're talking about say monkeys. So humans are also monkeys, same genus. So when you can say some similar quality about a monkey you observe in a person, you can call that person a monkey. But does that person become a monkey? No, someone here has experienced that, right? So in this way, we have 10 more minutes on Zoom. We'll continue after that. So in this way, when we are looking at any word which belongs to a genus, then someone can make a quibble, uh, and you can say you can, based on the genus, you can say that someone who belongs to that genus, but he does not have that same property belonging to the same genus, right? So if you can say that this man is like he keeps scratching his ears, or keeps jumping up and down, he's like a monkey. But does he become a monkey? No. He's a human being. So similarly, the example given here is someone says that this Brahman is very wise, learned, and humble. So someone says, "What do you mean Brahmana is humble?" There is a little boy who's living in my house. He's also a Brahmana, but he's not wise and learned, and he's not humble. Also, he's very naughty. Uh, and so then what does this mean here? We are talking about a certain person of the category. A person who has gone through his total education as a Brahmana, and so that Brahmana has really reached a level where he has a lot of knowledge, and knowledge, it is assumed, naturally makes you humble. Vidya Dadati Vinayam, a very famous Subhashita in Sanskrit. Vidya Dadati Vinayam. Vidya, or knowledge, always gives you humility, because the more you learn, the more you know that there is still so much more to learn, that you cannot know everything, right? So the more you learn, the more humble you become, and the more sincere you become in your efforts to learn something, or learn something more. Right? So this Vinayam is a byproduct of this Vidya only. But if someone says that another person of that category does not have, or it might entirely be possible, someone is born in a Brahmin family, but he didn't have the interest to learn or study. So he might not, know as much as another person who did the study actually. So you cannot apply all the characteristics to a certain uh, genus, a certain group, a certain category. Hmm. So in that is what happens. But usually it is said in our shastras that when someone is born into a Brahmin family, then he had from previous janmas an inclination towards knowledge. That is why he is born there. But a lot of souls, they also fall down from their state. Huh? Someone was maybe in a higher family, or maybe someone was in a lower family, but he is he's to get the experience of moving towards knowledge, maybe not in this birth, but maybe in the next birth, or maybe in his beginning years he might not have a inclination towards knowledge, but later on he might have. So these kind of things are also always there. So in this way, you can understand this uh, second category of chalam, which is the samanya chalam, common, samanya, common, something that belongs to a common category, a common category property of a category. So that is samanya chalam, right? So then we go into the next one. What is the third one? So the third one is upachar chalam. So upachar is basically upachar. Upachar, you understand simply, it means treatment. So I'll just come to it. Let's read the first one. Dharma vikalpa nirdeshe arth sadbhava pratished upachar chalam. Upachar chalam. So dharma vikalpa nirdeshe. So if something is a property, a dharma of any object, then you using that property, you give a vikalpa, you give a choice, you give a different interpretation to something, right? So if you say my lover's face is as beautiful as the moon, so then you can say that yes, because you observe the moon as a beautiful object of nature, and you say my object of love, the woman I love, is has a face as beautiful as the moon, right? But someone might say that the moon has so many pock marks. That means, does your love have pock marks? So इधर क्योंकि हिंदी में कहते हैं चांद में दाग है. There are spots on the moon, right? So in this way also you can take that metaphor. So a metaphor pigmentation. So that, what does that metaphor mean? Dharma vikalpa nirdesha. So because something has a dharma, a property, then you can give a vikalpa nirdesh. You can give a opposite meaning to a metaphor. Uh, Dharma vikalpa nirdeshe artha sadbhavat pratished. So that artha, that is the earth, the meaning that is conveyed by that metaphor, you do a pratished, you oppose it, you take a vice versa meaning or different meaning. That is called upchar chalam. Upchar chalam. So what is upchar chalam? Basically upchar is treatment. So upchar is basically implying or imposing something different from what is being said. So here observe very carefully that what we saw in the first one, there it is Vakchalam. So in Vakchalam, it is a simple meaning. Simple word, simple meaning, you take a different meaning. But here you have a metaphor. So in a metaphor, how do you say, like someone says, someone in the example given in the text, that is their popular example, that the scaffold is crying out. So someone is getting ready to be put on ready to be hanged to death. So that person is crying out, not the scaffold, not the place where he is hanging. But we say the scaffold is crying. What does it mean? The person on the scaffold. So that is how it meant. So you can say, how can the scaffold cry out? It is not a living object. So that way you can, what we say, reverse the metaphor. You can give an opposite meaning of what the metaphor is saying. So in this way, you can understand that whatever is being said in the metaphor, you try to impose a literal meaning to the metaphor, right? Or someone says, like, the justice is calling you. So there is a person who is sitting on the court. He is the judge. You call him justice. He is not justice itself, but he is the giver of justice, or he is the dispenser of justice. वो देता है आपको एक न्याय, है ना? So when that person gives it, so that Nyaya, that justice, you call him Mr. Justice. You call him the this. So does justice speak? No, justice does not speak. Justice is a concept. So So this is different from the previous one. There it was an object, here it is a concept. So concept also as a metaphor can be taken, and that concept you might reverse the meaning. How can justice speak? So in this way you can understand this upachar chalam as a way of trying to cut someone's argument by saying something that they meant as a metaphor and taking it literally. Simple one, it's not that very complicated, but you have to remember. Okay, so 2 minutes left for the Zoom. We'll just reconnect after that. So let's look at the next one after that. So basically, we have seen the three kinds of chalam, but we have not finished with chalam. We are going to examine. Uh, this we have already done literally almost, but we'll just look at it again. Look at it. So na tad arthantar bhavat. So, but it is not so. Uh, for there is a distinction between them. Arthantar bhava. There is a difference of meaning between them. Which two? Which two is the different there? From the Vakchalam and the Upachar Chalam. Vakchalam and Upachar Chalam. So in Vakchalam, there is a difference between Vakchalam and Upachar Chalam. Because if you look at it, in a simple manner, then basically what is happening, you are taking a term and giving it different meanings, right? Taking one single term and giving different meanings. But as we have seen earlier, what is the basic difference between these two? We'll just look at it in the next sutra also. So there the so what basically this sutra is saying is that I think we'll take the next one in a minute. Let's quickly reconnect. I'm just logging out and reconnecting. So both of you please join back. Okay. So we are reconnecting on Zoom. Just give us a minute. Okay, Manisha, George joining back, and so we are looking into na tat arthantar bhavat. Okay, so welcome back. So we have seen the 16th sutra where it is saying that out of the two chalam that we have seen, Vak chalam and Upchar chalam, even though they appear similar, but they are not actually similar. How so? Let's look at the next sutra where it is explained. So 17. Avisheshe va kinchit sadharmyat ek chala prasanga. So what he's saying is avishesheva. If you do not admit that one is different from another, simply because there is some kind of similarity, then we should have only one kind of chalam or one kind of quibble. So basically what we are saying is that there is a subtle verbal difference between these two, or in fact all the three chalam. So if we don't admit that difference, then in that way all three would be same. All three would be same, three kinds of chalam. Basically what are they? Play upon words. All the three chalams are play upon words. But what is the difference between the first and third, which actually appear very close? In the first one you have a word that has a simple meaning and you are giving an alternate meaning, and the third one is a metaphor. For a metaphor you are using the literal meaning instead of the metaphor, right? So very simple there, nothing complicated about it. But in Nyaya we clear everything, till there is no doubt. We have to clear everything. So any doubt that might come, that is taken up in the coming sutras. So next we look at the next category, right? The out of the 16 categories we have done 14. So this is the 15th category, jati. So if you look at the sutra 1 to 18. So sadharmya dharmavyam sadharmya dharmabhyam pratyavsthanam jati. So what is jati? Jati, futility, huh? Something that is expressing the futility of any argument, futility of any objection. Uh, so futility consists in offering objections based on mere similarity or dissimilarity. So in jati you are giving an argument which is depending on uh, just similarity or dissimilarity of two different objects. So this one has different, so many different kinds of jati. We, as I said, we look that up in the next section. But if we look at a basic difference, then what does jati say? Let us say someone says that atma mein karm nahi hai, soul is inactive. Huh? So why? So if someone can give a reasoning, because it is all pervading like ether. Hmm. Uh, so if something is all pervading like ether, that means it has no action, because we don't see any action in ether or space or akasha. And in akasha, we don't see akash moving, right? So someone says that, but if atma is inactive, there is no karma there, and its similarity is to ether is that it is all pervading. Then why does it not bear similarity to a pot as being a seat of union? What does this mean? Basically, what it means is that Atma is there in everything, right? So it is there in all the objects also. Even if it is all pervading, then it is passing through all the objects. That means if it is passing through all the objects, then the objects themselves are in motion. All the objects that you see are in motion. So if something contains objects that are in motion, that means that Atma is also in motion. You can infer that. But what is the futility about this argument? Why? Because it overlooks the universal connection between the middle term and the major term, which is existent in the arguments of the disputant. What does this mean? That if you the what are the disputant saying is that it is assuming that atma is something which is divided to parts. He is assuming that it is divided into parts. But we understand that from the nature of Atma, that it is the objects within the Atma, all the objects that are, existing within the Atma, they are merely appearances. They are merely appearances. So they appear and disappear. So they have no bearing on the infinity of Atma. There is no continuity, discontinuity within the Atma. The objects are merely appearances, right? So if I see a dream, and in the dream I see a lion is eating me up, when I wake up, will I be dead? No. So it is that lion is what? It is an imposition. It is merely an imposition. It is something I create out of my thought. And in this way, that the Atma also, so kamayat, we say in the Vedas, through thought, it creates Brahmaji creates the whole universe. So this whole universe is created out of thought. That does not mean it does not have an existence. It has an existence, but that existence is in a different plane. There is no intermingling. It is not that within the Atma these things are existing together with the Atma. Right? So if you are looking at the Nirguna Atma. So this part of the argument, it is considered as a jati. It is considered as a futile argument. So there are many variations in this. We'll look at this in later on. So we'll just look at the final 16 categories. So at least we would have done the 16 categories. Then we'll discuss more of them. So the final one was Nigrahasthan, an occasion for review. So we are into the 19th sutra. Vipratipatti, apratipatti, cha nigrahsthanam. So what is nigrahsthanam? What is the occasion for a rebuke, or when someone misunderstands something, or when does not understand something at all, right? So nigrahsthan is, uh, usually there is a conclusion to an argument, which we say is the concluding argument, or the nigraha. So nigraha is something that where how we conclude an argument. But nigraha sthanam, something that is like you saw hetwabhas. Remember hetwabhas? That is a hetu, but abhasa, appearing like a hetu, right? Similarly, nigraha sthanam is nigraha is conclusion, but it is appearing in the wrong place. So that conclusion, the basis for that conclusion is not correct. So what does that mean? How can it be not correct? Only in two ways possible. One way is that the person misunderstands something. Something you misunderstand, or another is the person does not understand something at all. So nigra sthanam also 24 kinds we look at later on. So basically, if you say uh, there is an example given here, whatever is not quality is substance. Huh. So basically, you divide the universe, the observable universe, into substance, yani vastu ya dravya, and guna or quality. Huh. Everything. So quality is different from substance, even though quality and substance they exist together, right? So whatever is a quality, it will exist along with the substance. So when we look at uh, this argument, what does this argument say? Whatever is not quality is substance. So out of that, what kind of conclusion can we make? One conclusion, the wrong conclusion, because there is nothing except quality, except qualities, huh? Or color, etc. You can say. So you can say that this only the guna is seen. We saw in Vedanta also. You can see this mobile, but you cannot actually experience the mobile. You can experience only the properties of the mobile. You can only see the guna. You can see its shape. You can see its color. You can see the size. These are all properties, shape, size. But actual content, can you observe? No. But does that mean the content is not there? No. Content is there. Something sat, something existent is there. It is couched, it is hidden by those properties. But that does not mean that only the property exists, right? So you can make a wrong conclusion that there is only quality exists. So when I'm saying that only the guna is observed by us, the dravya is not never observed by the. We saw that earlier also. Only guna we can observe, dravya we cannot observe. Then what does that mean? That does not mean that the dravya is not there. That means the dravya is always concealed, right? Or in actual sense, if we say dravya is basically a collection of different atoms or parmanus, and that collection actually can be merged into one infinite existence. So from that infinite existence, these properties, these colors, these different gunas, they create different objects. Through because of the gunas, there are multiple objects. But that does not mean that there is no essence in the objects. Essence is there. That does not mean that only the qualities or the properties exist. The dravyam also exists due to the law of conservation of matter, law of conservation of mass. So all of them will have to be there. The mass is not some mass is actually not a property. It is there, but it is hidden by the properties. So in this way, this Nigra Sthanam is understood. So there are again different Nigra Sthanam. A lot of there you can say someone can say fire is not hot. So fire is not hot. How is it possible? It appears like a stupid statement. So uh, then the opponent will say the evidence of touch disproves such a statement. Huh? So if you touch the fire, you can obviously tell it is hot. So So what will the disputant say? Oh, learned audience, listen, I do not say that the fire is not hot. He just says that it is only to meet the opponent should quit the company of a man who argues in this way. So there is someone who's something someone is saying just to grab attention. So to grab attention, he makes a statement that is patently false. So that also is a case of not understanding. First one was misunderstanding. This is not understanding. He makes a statement, fire is not hot, and then when he listens to the argument, he runs away. So in this way, that is also a nigrasthanam, where a conclusion is arrived without examining the facts. Sometimes it may be something stupid like the one I said. Sometimes it is also deeper. So those examples will keep coming up as we go into the text, right? So in this way, we have covered all the 16 categories. So in the next chapter, we will then start examining a bit more into detail of the different categories. Like the first one, as we saw, was the different pramanams. So whether the pramanams are correct or not, what is the reason, why do we accept those pramanams? And then, of course, there is a examination of doubts, sanshaya. Hmm. So all of these we are going to look up into the next chapter. So for today, I think we'll wind up. The time is almost up anyway. So the next chapter we will continue into the next class. Okay. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Shri Paramatmane Namaha. Hari Om.